Page 123. It's all staying the same? Once you find the song? All right, here we go. Are you weary? Are you heavy-hearted? Tell it to Jesus. Tell it to Jesus. Are you grieving over joys departed? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus. Tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other such a friend, oh brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Do the tears flow down your cheeks unbidden? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. Have you sins that to men's eyes are hidden? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other such a friend, oh brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Last verse. Are you troubled at the thought of dying? Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. For Christ's coming kingdom are you sighing? Tell it to Jesus alone. Tell it to Jesus, tell it to Jesus. He is a friend that's well known. You have no other such a friend, oh brother. Tell it to Jesus alone. Thank you very much. You can have a seat. Okay, in case anybody hadn't heard, Jared and Rebecca have their second baby. Had the baby on Sunday afternoon, and he's doing good. And Josiah's real excited about being an older brother. Okay, and everyone's doing good, so we're happy about that. Does anybody have a prayer request or a praise report? Okay. 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 So anybody didn't hear? I'm going to turn this other speaker on. I'm going to turn the microphones on. So people can hear voices. Jimmy Kaufman's family of Jimmy Kaufman that passed away in the services tonight, memorial service tonight. Anybody else with prayer request or praise report? Okay. Okay. Keep showing your prayers. There's others within the church family that are really hurting for different things going on within our church family. It's not problems within the church. Is family. It's family that are. We had a prayer request Sunday morning for a niece who's health issues because of her drugs, and she needs saved if she needs to get off of drugs and all that stuff. So there's a lot of that within the church that everyone's got to carry burdens for other people or carry burdens for their families. So keep those families in your prayers, okay? Anybody else? Okay. You know, when you said Robert Mullins passed away, that's what I thought was the Robert Mullins that I knew in the early '80s before I went away, before Tammy and I moved away. That would have been preaching at the time. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All preachers are that way. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Prayer request, praise report? Any unspoken requests? Something you want to pray about, not to mention that loud? Okay. Charlie, will you lead us in prayer? Amen. We're in Romans chapter 12. Romans chapter 12. We've been there for about 3-4 weeks now. But there's a lot to this chapter. Does anybody remember the homework assignment I gave last Wednesday night? Did anybody do their homework assignment for last? Huh? Read the chapter? Was there specific verses in the chapter? Do you remember the homework assignment for last Wednesday night? You weren't. Huh? We went through that, and we started in verse 9, and then we're going to go down from there, okay? But at the end, look at chapter Romans chapter 12. Look at verse 2. I'm going to start with this because this is to me this sets the tone for the rest of the chapter, okay? And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is God. God says, I want to change your thinking, okay? Transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So we want to find out what God's will is, what's good, what's acceptable. We want to find out what is God's perfect will for our life. We went down through the chapter, verse 6, have gifts differing according to the grace given unto us. Stop reading right there. But verse 6 talks about, 6, 7, and 8 talks about different gifts. And we went through the idea that nobody in the church is more important or more valuable than you, and nobody in the church or in the family of God is less important or less valuable than you. Okay, so I don't think we have any questions on that. We went over that, but then we'll go to verse 9. Okay, this is where we started last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but we get pretty far last week. We had the missionary here, which was good. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectionate one to another with brotherly love, in honor preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Distributing to the necessity of saints, giving to hospitality. Bless them which persecute you, and bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. I think verse 9, when it says, let love be without dissimulation, that word dissimulation means hypocrisy. It's a command of God. When Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment? He said, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And then he said, without being asked, he said, the second one is like unto it, to love thy neighbor as thyself. So for us to love people, to properly love people, we've got to find out what love is, okay? Look down at chapter 13, across the page. Chapter 13, verse 8. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another has fulfilled the law. That means if you learn how to love people in a proper way, then you'll fulfill the law of God. For this, that's not for salvation is by the grace of God, but this is fulfilling God's will for what you're supposed to be doing, perfect will. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. We're still chapter 13, verse 9. Thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. If there be any other commandment, is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. So let's find out what love is, okay? It is chapter 12, verse 9, let love be without dissimulation. That means there's no hypocrisy to it, okay? You are real in the fact that if you have this kind of love in your heart. Remember that. Last week we said there's 3 different types of love. Anybody remember what they were? Anybody remember one of the 3 types? Agape. Okay, that's very good. That's the best kind of love. Right? Okay, agape. Charlie's got it. Agape is the best kind of love. It's unconditional love. It means you love somebody no matter what they do or what they've said. Okay. And phileo, Charlie mentioned that one. That's a brotherly love. That's conditional love. Okay. Anybody have a brother? How many got brothers? Right? Do you love your brother? Most of the time. Carson's shaking his head no, because he's a teenager and they don't. Okay. Okay. A lot of times, brotherly love is a conditional love. You can get mad at them. You'll come back and love them again tomorrow, right? But you get mad at them for what they say or do or whatever. Especially start with teenagers. You hate your brother for a few minutes, but you get over it. Me and my brother had fights sometimes when we were kids, and you get over it. And you still, I love my brother. He's a year older than me. He looks a lot older than me. I was scared about that. Anyway, so you love them, okay? But it's kind of conditional. And then there's an eros love, which is not really love. It's just if you satisfy my appetites, it's a sensual love. Okay. Let love be without dissimulation, no hypocrisy. Abhor, that means to hate that which is evil, and cleave to that which is good. So you hate what you would do as evil. You hate what other people would do as evil. Brother John, can you love somebody and hate their sin? Yeah, you can. Okay? I can preach against sin and love the sinner. Okay? I can preach against, name it, drunkenness, drugs, immorality, homosexuality. I can preach against any kind of sin, lying. Okay? I can preach against any kind of sin and still love the sinner. Jesus loved the sinners. That's why he died on the cross for them. Okay? With that in mind, okay, look at verse 10. It says, be kindly affectionate one to another. Put my glasses on. Be kindly affectionate one to another in brotherly love, in honor preferring one another. So kindly affection to me, honor preferring one another. This part of love is, I'm going to let you have what you want. Okay? How many of you have said over and over again when someone says, "What do you like?" Okay, if Charlie and Michelle is going out to eat, and Charlie says, if Michelle says, "Where do you want to go?" Charlie would say, "Wherever you want." That's honor preferring one another, right? Or what do you want for dinner? Whatever you want, we'll fix it. Okay? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? In honor preferring one another says you're going to give them first choice. Okay? That means if there's 2 pieces of pie left, you give the other person the biggest slice. Okay? Nah, not really. You dive into that biggest slice and cut it down real fast so it makes it like you eat fast, makes it look like you get the same size. Just kidding. In honor preferring one another means you let them have the first choice. How often do you do that? You let somebody else, would you let somebody in your family have first choice on stuff? Would you let somebody else have first choice on we do that, okay? Some of us have been trained to do that. We had this conversation on the way to church, talking to Josiah and Miss Joe, and Josiah was talking about somebody else, and Josiah said he's not been trained, okay? Isn't that what he said, Miss Joe? And we're talking about us. Josiah is only 4 years old, and for him to say about another child, to say he's not been trained, that means Josiah understands that we are given these rules to live by. And we have a lot of fun within these rules. We were given boundaries, okay, to live by. We have a great time within those boundaries. But a lot of kids have no boundaries. A lot of adults have no boundaries. No one has ever taught them. There's trained and untrained. No one has ever taught them, okay? Part of the love is people don't know how to. In honor preferring one another. Because I know husbands that take first choice over their wife every time. I know wives that she'll do what she wants instead of what he would want at any given moment, at any given time. She has her will. What's that song by the Women's Lib song? "I'm woman, hear me roar." Okay, some older people know that song. And it's like, I will have my life my way. I'm going to do what I want at any given time, and you can't tell me what to do. Because I know wives that have been that way towards their husbands. I know a couple got divorced a few years back, and she came right out and said, "I want my life to be my way." That's not honor preferring one another. Okay? And she said, "I will have my way." She did. She got divorced. Okay? Well, the kids weren't happy with it. She wasn't happy with it in the long run. Okay? And her husband definitely wasn't happy with it. Okay. And that's not love. Okay? Well, Brother John, what if the husband mistreats, does this, whatever? The Scripture talks about what's proper for divorce. That's a cheating spouse. You can get a divorce. You can justify your divorce by that way. But a lot of people just say, "Well, I want to do what I want." Okay? A lot of women do that. A lot of men do that. Okay? There's a lot of people who look at somebody and say, "I love you," but their actions say, "I don't." Okay? Any questions on that? You know what that's called? Dissimulation in verse 9. Hypocrisy. Okay? There's a young man who's in the military and served over in Iraq and several years ago, and he came back and he was going to college and he was working at the Walmart, and he worked the cash register at Walmart. And I never met this man. I saw a picture on a wall, but I was good friends with his brother, who was a customer of mine. and his brother's name was Dan. Dan was telling me about his brother got back from Iraq, and he said he saw things he saw atrocities over there, bad things from bad people, and so he was going to college, working at Walmart. And he said there was a man came through getting all kinds of stuff for himself, and had a little boy with him, which was probably his son, and had a little boy with him, and the little boy just put something up on the counter at Walmart that he wanted. Okay, and the dad was getting all the beer and cigarettes and stuff that he wanted. Okay, and the little boy put something up on the counter, and the dad started yelling at the child. Okay, he said it was just a small child. This young man working at Walmart who just got back from Iraq reached across the counter, grabbed the man by his shirt and pulled him across to him, and said, "If you have to put something back, you put something back and buy that for your son." And then put the man back across the counter. Well, he said, "Why don't you put the kid first?" Okay, you're going to say, as a father, you're going to tell your son you love him, but you won't buy him a stick of gum, a pack of gum, or whatever it is. You'll buy what you'll spend $12 on cigarettes. Won't spend 25 cents for your kid for gum. Okay, put him across the counter. He said, the way Dan told me the story. He said when that man did that, grabbed that other guy, pulled him across the counter. He said everyone got quiet. All the other tellers stopped and just stared at him because they didn't know what he was going to do. And he just they knew him. And he gently put him back across the counter and said, "Take care of your son." Okay, that's love without hypocrisy. Okay, don't say I love you if you don't act like it. Okay, now be real. That's what it comes down to. Hate evil, love good, and honor preferring one another. Now, I want to look at a couple things that are the emotions of love. Right? How many have emotions? Right? You love people. You love your children. You love your grandchildren. Love your siblings. Love your spouse. Whatever. You love people. Okay. Look at the emotions of love. Look at verse 10. Be kindly affectionate one to another. That means people should matter to you. I know there's people in this life that nobody matters to them but themselves, right? Like here they are in the middle of the world, and everybody else is supposed to circle around them and do what they tell them to do. Okay, that's not love. You can't have any love. You don't have love if that's all you have. Be kindly affectionate one to another. Look at verse 12. This is emotions that to me come with love or follow along with love or build into this agape love that we can have. Okay, verse 12. Rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing instant in prayer. Rejoicing in hope means you can rejoice when someone else has an idea or someone has a hope for something or everybody in this room has had or do have now have a friend or a family member that has cancer, and there's just a slight hope that the treatment's going to work. Okay, and if they're rejoicing in that hope, you rejoice in that hope. That's what that love is. That's part of the emotional side of it, like supporting someone, saying that they're going through the trial of their life, and they're hoping they have some kind of a hope, some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. That there's hope in this. You support it. Okay, and you're there for them. Whether you call them or you're in the presence or whatever you can do, and you say, I'm rejoicing with you. Okay, rejoicing in hope. So what else is part of the emotional part of love? Look at verse 15. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. That shouldn't be hard. If you care about people, if you love people, you can rejoice with others who rejoice. We've had. If you go through the funerals or the people that have died in just the last couple of weeks, Gary Mullins, probably, if I remember right, older than me, just a couple years older than me. Okay. I'm 58, so that's about right. 64 years old. Or Michelle's mom, was she in the 50s? 54? Okay. Or the funeral yesterday was for a 22-year-old man. Good kid. Fine young man. If you can think about the parents of the 22-year-old young man and serving in the military that died last week, 10 days ago. If you can think about them, it doesn't bother you. If some of you don't know them, so it may not bother you. Then you got to weep with those who weep.
I've thought about Eric and Heather a lot in the last 10 days. Off and on, I just catch myself thinking about it and say, oh Lord, God, just praying for them, continuing instant prayer, what it means. I keep thinking about this young couple, they're younger than me, that they just lost their son unexpectedly. And I think it keeps coming back to me, and every time I think of them, I'm praying for them. Okay? I also think about Michelle, losing her mom. And I think about it a lot in the last 10 days. And just thinking and thinking, and every time I think about it, continue instant prayer, either pray for or ask Tammy questions, because I like Tammy, I would just ask the other questions. I say, can we do this? Or should we do this for Michelle? What can we do? How can we help? Okay? Rejoice with them that do rejoice. You know who's rejoicing today? Josiah is. He's so excited about having a baby little brother. He's the big brother, okay? And he says, he's 4 years old. And he says, when I was a little kid, right? Some of you have heard him say that, right? When I was a little kid, okay, he is so excited, okay? I can't help but be excited for, well, aren't your grandson? I can't. When Mary Sheeta comes in excited, or Charlie Boy's excited about something, when the other kids here are excited about stuff, I want to be excited for them. When you have something good happen in your life, I want to be excited for you. Okay? If love is only an emotion, then if love is just an emotion, it's not. But if love is just an emotion, you ought to know how to turn that emotion on. How you do that? By thinking, not false tears like the Oprah show. Okay, that's all. A lot of a lot of that's just made up, make yourself cry, like an actor would do. But you ought to be able to think about somebody enough that you to either rejoice with them or weep with them, and care about somebody enough that you can not because you have to cry or have to laugh, but just to have the emotion of saying, I'm praying for you. What can I do? Okay, but the love is not just emotions. Okay, because we all understand emotions. There's a practical side of it. Okay, verse 10 says, "In honor, preferring one another, that you step aside, let them have their way." Okay, I was taught this all the time when I was a kid, and we taught Rebecca this, and Tammy was taught this. That you let others have their way. Just step aside, let them go first. Okay, and the people. I'm on the road 60 hours a week. I work about 60. So I'm driving probably 45 hours a week. Today, the interstate was shut down at 64. It's 3 lanes going west around Dunbar. They shut it down to 1 lane. So most often, when about a mile back, everybody will start merging over into that right lane. Right? That's what you're supposed to do. Like if it says left 2 lanes closed, you're supposed to merge over. Right? Most often, there's somebody that'll speed up trying to get around 10 cars or whatever, and then when they pull over, everyone has to hit the brakes, right? You don't drive. Hopefully you're not driving yet. But y'all know what I'm talking about. The person that has to get one, I gotta have one more car. Gotta have one more car. They'll have one. It just so everyone else has to slow down, hit the brakes to let them in. Okay, that's not honor preferring one another. Oh, but y'all don't know other people. I don't care about them. It's just the idea of being courteous to others, okay? Or let people in. If you refer to driving, there's a this lane's closed. You know the right lane's closed. You move over to the left lane, let somebody else over. Okay? It's just the idea. It's practical side. I want to look at a couple more things. This is the practical side of love. Look at verse 11. Anybody have any questions on this? Okay, honor preferring one another. Look at verse 11. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. What's business have to do with love? What's business have to do with love? You work for your papa, something, right? You love your papa? Okay. And we had this conversation before church about you learning stuff from your papa, and you're not going to have the same job when you're older. But yeah, fervent in spirit. I mean, not slothful in business. There are people just like the man who says "I love you" to his wife right before he smacks her around. Okay, the man who says "I love you" to his children before he backhands them across the room, because they're agitating him or whatever. Okay, that's not love. There are people who say, and I've worked with, I'm 58, I've been working since I was 15. So it's for 43 years I've been working. I couldn't tell you how many Christians I work with that are lazy. Okay? I mean, just downright lazy. I'm talking about people who name the name of Christ, but they won't lift a finger to work. Okay? They're late for work, or they won't work while they're there. And they say they're a Christian, which to me is bad testimony. Okay? Or they are dishonest in business. Okay? The Bible says not slothful in business. That might not be lazy in business. That means if me and you got to carry 1,000 pounds in 100-pound bags, if you don't carry your 5 bags, then I've got to carry 7 bags instead of 5 because you only get 3 done. Okay? It bothers me that a lot of people are just lazy in business. Okay? The Scripture talks about this. Not slothful in business. Okay? Any questions on that? Any comments on that? Okay? Let's go on. Well, it matters how you. It does matter how you conduct business. Look at verse 13. Distributing to the necessity of saints, giving hospitality. Okay, what's the necessities? Distributing to the necessity of the saints. Is that a new satellite dish because they want a second satellite dish on the house? Is it taking everybody to the Chinese buffet every day? No, it's not, is it? Okay? The class smells that. So maybe the door. Okay. So someone brought clothes. There's still bags of clothes back here. Okay, bunch of clothes. They've been here for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and we told it's men's clothes. We told the men here that several men, and we said go through them, see if I have a pair of pants, a shirt, whatever. Well, but John, I don't need that pair of pants. If it fits, wear it. Okay. It's somebody who said I got extra, and they got a lot of extra. There's more clothes back there than what I own, probably. They want to give, okay, and it's nice stuff. Okay, take it if you can use it. Okay, yeah. Distributing the necessity of saints means if there's a real need, and I've said this a dozen times. If I mention a real need from this pulpit, and Dave Castor was back here in that office or at his house watching from home. He's got the checkbook for the church. By the time church is over, if there's a real need, he'll say, let's give. Okay? He did that last Wednesday night when the missionary was here. Okay? I had in my mind to give so much out of my pocket. And he texted Tammy and doubled what I was going to give. Okay? Distributing to necessity. Well, John, how do you know what that guy needs? Well, remember the missionary that was here last week? Where do the kids get their food? That the missionary was talking about. They feed 1,000 children every week. Him and his wife fix it, okay? And the meals that they don't fix for them are the meals that come from that trash pile, the trash heap, the garbage mountain that they call it, okay? And they pick up the scraps of food from the garbage mountain that come from the old McDonald's or whatever, not old McDonald farm, but the old McDonald's food or whatever it is. And they scrape it off or clean it and heat it and cook it again, okay? And these kids are basically starving. And so distributing the necessity of the saints says, yeah, we can fix that. We can fill that need, okay? And through the last 28 years of the church, I don't know of any needs we didn't fix, we didn't fill. Miss Joe mentioned her roof leak, and then a couple weeks later, she's talking about angels being up on the roof. Remember that, Charlie? And we had fun doing it, distributing the necessity of the saints, right? I mean, we had a good time just working together. Okay, if there's a need in the church and you know of the need, and we don't know the need, we can't fill it. But if there's a need and you know it, and you let us know about the need, then we want to fill that need, a true need. And I've given this illustration before. There was a woman that was coming here before, and she didn't work, and there's 3 generations in the house, I guess, that nobody's worked. She came to Preacher Dave, and she said, can the church help me with my utility bills? And Preacher Dave said, if you'll show me, write down all of your income from where you get money from, okay? So she did. She sat there and wrote everything. She knew what all her income was. And she gave back to him, and he said, you make more than I do. And your children are on the same system, so they got more money. They got money coming into that same house. And he said, you make more money than I do. That church is not going to help you. Okay? And she asked me if the church would pay for another satellite dish so they wouldn't have to watch the same program. I guess, I don't know now if you can have a satellite so that it hooks up, does this work now? You work up a satellite, but it goes to different people watch different things in the house. But she said they want another satellite. She told me they wanted another satellite dish on the house so that she wouldn't have to watch kids' programs or the same programs. So they wouldn't have to argue about the remote. Well, okay. Wasn't a need. Necessity of the saints. So I didn't want to give them anything. Okay? Didn't give them anything. Okay. Any questions about that? Brother John, does that make you hard? Like, does that make you hard-hearted because you wouldn't give? David Underwood, I mentioned this before, David Underwood and I were on visitation one night, and he said, it's time to go. The guy was wanting the church to give him money. And David Underwood looked at me and said, let's go. And he's a compassionate guy, give you anything, right? Okay. Extreme necessity of the saints. Necessities. True necessities. Okay. Here's the last part on love we'll look at tonight. Look at verse 17. Okay? Because this may be for some people the hardest part of love. True love. Godly love. Recompense to no man evil for evil. That means you don't pay him back. Okay? If someone's mean to you, you don't pay him back. You don't have to. You can. If someone smacks you, you can smack them back or whatever. If someone cheats you, you can cheat them back. If someone says something bad about you, you can get on the internet, talk bad about them too. People do that. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of a man. If it be possible, sometimes you can't, sometimes it's not possible to do this, okay? If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, this is godly love. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Really? Can you get along with everybody? Miss Jo, do you get along with everybody? Do you get along with everybody? Pat, do you get along with everybody? Marla? As much as life, huh? Try to. There's some people that just, as Charlie said Sunday morning in Sunday school class, there are some people that just common sense things, people don't have common sense, right? There's some people you just can't, okay? And there's people that I've worked with through the years that nobody can get along with them, okay?
I was just this way, she go behind me just this way. I told her she's going to go to the
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. And Preacher Dave was a great painter. Like he painted this whole room one day when we started. He was a great painter. He's great at hanging wallpaper, I tried wallpaper. If you come to our house, you see the bathroom downstairs. The paper aren't lined. It's not lined up right. And it folds out. It doesn't stick the way it's supposed to stick. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff. He was good at it. Okay. There was if I remember a story right, it was about 15 years ago. He told me this. There was a doctor that he had done the offices for when he worked at CAMC. And he'd done some work for this guy at his house. And this doctor owned a very large house at the Greenbrier. And he said, I bought this. He told Dave, he said, I bought this leather wallpaper for this room. It's leather. Okay? I don't know what he wanted. I mean, he's a doctor. You buy what you want, right? And he said, I want you to come hang it. And Dave said, I won't do it. He said, why? Because you'll complain. Really? And you imagine Preacher Dave saying that to somebody, and the guy said, I'll pay you $1,000 a drop. That means that, whatever, it's 54 inches wide or whatever. And he said, I'll pay you $1,000 drop for every piece that comes down. If I got the numbers right, Becky can probably correct me on this if she hears the story. And Dave said, I won't do it. I'm not going to do it because you'll complain about it. Really? If it's perfect, if you lined it up perfect, somewhere along the line you find something. And some people are like that. And some people will complain about everything. Okay? If you give them a $100 bill, they complain about the serial number on it. They find something, too much wrinkles, whatever. Hey, you cannot satisfy that person whatsoever. And there are people that you cannot get along with. You can try to love them at a distance. But the truth is, the more you get to know them, the greater the distance that you want to keep with them, right? You can put up with them for brief moments, once a year or whatever it is, but you just don't put yourself in a position where they're going to say, "That's a Christian. You're a Christian, and you act like that." Well, yeah, Okay? My mind goes back to 40, almost 40 years ago, 36 years ago. A preacher and I were working with some guy, and he kept using a term over and over and over again, a derogatory racial slur. And Dave finally said, we're working at steel mill. And Dave said, you use that term one more time. You say that word one more time, we'll knock your teeth down your throat. Okay? And the guy looked at me and said, would he do it? I said, yeah, he would. Now I'm about to do it myself. I hadn't said anything to him. Okay, as much as lieth in you, that means there's some people you can't live peaceably with all men. Okay? How you do that? How can you live peaceably with people that don't want to get along? Okay? The psalmist David, King David, talked about people. He said, I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. Okay? You think about Israel, today's Israel, and Hamas. And they'll launch 100 rockets into Israel, into Jerusalem from the people from Palestinians, the Hamas. They hate the Jews, and so as soon as the Jews say that's enough and fire back, then it's all over the news that the Jews are attacking Hamas, the Palestinians. Okay. How do you do it? How can you love those people? They're going to hate you no matter what you do. Okay. There's been people in my lifetime. I won't count on my enemies today. I don't have any enemies that I know of. But the truth is, no matter what I did for them, they're not going to be happy with it. They're not going to be satisfied with it, or how I tried to treat them was not good enough. Okay, and they would bring it up. Okay, let's look at what he said. We look down verse 19 because we read 18. Verse 19 says this: Dearly beloved, avenge not yourself, and you don't try to get even, but rather give place unto wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord. Okay, let God take care of it. So what are we supposed to do? This is the practical side of love. Okay? Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Well, Brother John, why don't I just dump the bucket of coal on the guy's head? I mean, why can't I just throw fire on the guy's head? You'll do more good, according to scriptures. You'll do more good for a hungry person if you try to feed them. Okay? Or the thirsty person, that is your enemy, thirsty person, try to give them something to give them a drink of water. Okay? Why? It burns them. Okay? It shows them that you're the better man, that you're the better person. And so you treat them well. There's been people in my lifetime that I've tried to treat well. And when they became my enemy or showed themselves as an enemy, I still tried to, and would today, try to treat them well. Okay? Why? Because that's what I'm supposed to. That's love without dissimulation. Okay? Anybody got questions on that? Words on what about like the stand your ground law? Someone breaks in your house. We know that's self-defense, to defend your family, whatever. That's a different story. We're just talking about people that you know. Okay? There was a young boy who was only about 16 years old at the time, 16, 17 years old, that was driving out of our holler, and I was out working in my garden. This was years ago, probably 15 years ago, and I was out working in the garden and had my hoe, and somebody came up the holler, right there at the end of my garden where my barn's at, before my barn, my driveway. Person coming up the holler parked their car in the middle of the road and got out and was yelling at this kid. And this guy was probably in his 30s, and he wanted to beat up this kid. And this kid is saying, "Don't you know who I'm?" This guy's drunk. Okay, drunk as could be. You could have done this, pushed him over the creek, But I started walking up there because I didn't want this guy, the drunk guy, to beat up the kid that was, and this kid was like, "Don't you know who I am?" I mean, started naming this guy's name and this guy's family members, and said, "I'm just who I am." And this guy said, "Drunk, he has no idea. He's wanting to fight everybody." Okay. Curtis Hudson, the preacher, told the story about some guy that lived down Georgia, Decatur, Georgia. He said there's some drunk guy went into the fire station one day, and he said, "What's your name?" He said, "What's your name?" The guy said, "Yeah, I'm getting names of everybody." Finally, someone said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm getting names of everybody here. I'll come back and whoop you." And he said that one guy just grabbed him, started shaking real bad. He said, and the drunk guy said, I'll take your, what's your name? I'll take your name off the list. You know, so, okay, there's some people you cannot get along with. Okay, you can try. If you cannot live peaceably with them, find an opportunity to serve. Find an opportunity where they're hungry and you can feed them. Find an opportunity where they're thirsty and you can give them a drink. Find an opportunity where you can do something good to them or for them. Because sometimes you can turn that enemy into a friend or a neutral person. Neutral, they don't hate you like they used to hate you. Because a lot of times people hate you and they don't even know you. Or they hate you because of what someone else said. Okay? They hate you in today's terminology because of what they read on Facebook. Okay? Anybody got questions on love or anything we went over? Is it practical stuff? Yeah, it's practical stuff. This godly love, this agape love is a practical love. Questions? Comments? Is it emotional? Sure is. Rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. There's a lot of emotion in it. Yeah. Okay, let's pray. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for loving us. Thank you for truth in your word. Pray you help us be the Christians we want to be in every area of our life. We want to bring glory to you. I pray you use us for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you for coming out tonight.